this is all new. We're going to call, the Board of Education meeting tonight, Wednesday, May 17th. And if we could please silent your electronics devices and we'll stand for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, liberty and justice for all. We need to do acceptance of additions or deletions to Friday mailing?
Yes. Business consideration 6.11 will be adding a pesticide motion for ticks at A.W. Becker. 6.12 will be the results of last night's budget vote. Personnel considerations, we will be adding a assistant superintendent for curriculum and instruction. And 7.18, we will be adding a Title IX officer. I do have some corrections to 6.10. I want to make sure that instead of it saying parents, it is the children of the deceased Angela Stott. And 7.1, I just need to change to read, the posting number is not 07, it's 20.
I'm sorry, which number was that?
That's 7.1.
Okay. I need an acceptance of the minutes. I always say Molino, sorry, Miss Molino. Miss Ross. Anybody have any concerns? Okay. We have no awards or honors.
You have to accept the minutes. That was.
Oh, I didn't do it?
That was just for the change.
Oh, sorry, you're right.
Okay.
And accept the meetings for the minutes from May 3rd. Mr. Ross, Mr. Deo. Is all in favor? Okay. Again, number 4, no honors or recognitions, hearings, petitions. We have none. I need a business consideration of one or all.
I motion to approve all the business considerations.
And,
6.1
I
through
think we're gonna call
6:10.
second. Mr. Ross?
12, 6:12.
Do you have a question? I got 2, sorry.
Okay, all right.
All in favor?
I have a question real quick, sorry. Sue, you said that in addition was to spray for the ticks. Is that in this section right here?
6.11.
6.11? Dr. Bailey, you know anything more about that?
Yeah, there's a high tick population at Becker. We've had a lot of students and staff coming in from playground and out in the field, having to remove them. And anytime we apply a pesticide, even though they are as safe as they can be, this is a derivative of, Bill, what's it? Cedar oil. Cedar oil.
Right, so that's what it's trying to kill it. It's not like keeps it away. It has to like be in direct contact with it? Okay. Yeah, no, I know it's bad. We've had, in my household, some issues already. Yeah, yeah. Cool. Cedar. 6.7.
Right. Exactly as Bill said. So anytime we need to apply, even though it is a safe product, we are required to notify families and board action.
So does that get applied at the perimeter of the property or all throughout?
We'd have to do the whole thing, yeah.
And then do the kids have to stay off for a certain period of time? Or because it's natural, they don't need to? Okay.
Also amongst the business considerations is 6.7, the approval of the bids. Buildings and Grounds Committee met before our meeting this evening and had an in-depth discussion about where we are in this process. As you know, our architect presented last time on some aspects of the proposal, and there were some additional questions based on that. And we held a special focused meeting last Thursday with some of our coaches, the athletic director, some of our folks from O&M, and where O&M, our Buildings and Grounds board members there, as well as a couple other board members there. And I think that we made some good headway on making modifications to the proposal that will meet the needs of the people who would be affected. It is worth noting that we entered this $2.1 million construction project in an effort to meet the expectations and requirements of our building condition survey, which is completed every 5 years. I believe last one that was completed was 3.5 or so years ago by John Sharkey and his team. And the focus of the project was to remediate asbestos and to do improvements to our classrooms, especially in the front of both elementary schools upstairs, including casework and some other items. And we knew that we had an opportunity to do some improvements to our athletic facilities, and that included dugouts and the baseball field. Based on the discussion at the last board meeting, there were a lot more improvements that members of the board were interested in exploring. I don't know if whether Pete or Ed want to talk about it at all, or we can just. So our concern based on that, based on some of the things that we discussed both last Thursday and tonight, is that we don't have enough information. Some of the things that were talked about at the last board meeting and at our meeting last Thursday may have additional costs that are beyond the scope of this project. And we know that our priority was to improve our classroom spaces, not that our athletic facilities aren't as important or aren't important, because they are a great extension of the work that we do with our children. But if we know that some of the improvements are going to diminish our ability to improve our classrooms, we cannot proceed. So we had some questions for our architect and our building engineers to determine whether we can do some of this proposed work within the parameters of our $2.1 million. And did you have anything you wanted to add?
Yeah, no, I mean, I can speak to what you're saying. I think that if I understand it correctly, we are gonna, by approving the 6.7, it allows us to go forward with a lot more than just some of the athletic things. And some of the bigger ticket items that came out of that meeting, such as the press box that we're waiting for more information from the architect on. If anything needed to be changed to those, we could do another board meeting before anything else was affected by this, something like next week.
Yeah, our concern was, first of all, we want to approve 6.7, except we built 6.7 around the improvement of classrooms and the minimal improvements to our athletic facilities. What we've been tasked with is greater improvements to our athletic facilities. And our fear is that if we approve these this evening, then we will be hemmed in and not be able to do the work we intended through the project. So without the additional information, I think that we decided in our committee tonight to not approve 6.7. We decided not to approve 6.7.
I thought that was understanding. We're gonna wait till next week,
Okay, all right, that's what next
That's
week.
why we
Gotcha.
need a special meeting.
Awesome.
because if we approve this tonight,
We're
locked into the
Gotcha.
bid amounts. And then if it overruns next week, if we say we don't want that work done, we're stuck, we're not gonna get that money back.
right.
So there's some additional work that they're cost estimating for us, and I'll have that information next week. Is that the idea? Or
You were here 2 weeks ago when their discussion at the table was
Yeah.
about dugouts, which you knew about, outfield fence, sideline fence, foul markers, batting cages. That was not, the intention of the $2.1 million project was to improve our classroom spaces and with any additional funds to do some improvements to our athletic facilities. We need answers, and the press box.
Yep.
As John has told us last year and told us in between last meeting and now, we cannot physically place a third story on our existing structure. SED will not allow it unless we put an elevator in, because our facility is over 600 square feet. And their requirement, I mean, obviously, we can't put an elevator in. So, and some of the aspirations were to just build a third story on there, we can't do that. So the concern was, is it high enough to do the work that we need to do? How do we proceed, rather than just taking off the crow's nest wedge thing that's at the top? That does buy 3 more feet or 4 more feet. That's why we need to have the architect's input. We came up with some other ideas last week, but we're not sure. But I don't want to go into the weeds around what those proposals
The
are.
architect's out of the country right now, so we should have that next week. But we may have to call a special board meeting like immediately and get 5 of us back in here to approve
change or
approve
whatever it
what
is.
we're actually
Just
going to do.
approve the bid.
Okay,
bid.
all right.
So it won't be any change to, the public voted on the scope of the work. And making changes within it they may be able to do it with no cost or with nominal cost. What we want to make sure is, as Ed was saying, is that we're not signing these bids without eyes wide open on what it is we're going to be able to get for the money that's there.
What are we trying to figure out in the next week? Is it like exactly what would be realistic in terms of the press box modification and the
Correct.
dugout options and
Right.
things like
Correct.
that?
Yeah, like the bottom line cost of it, and if it's obviously astronomical, which it most likely will be, I think Bill brought up a good point to be able to tackle like a piece at a time. So, instead of us being able to do everything at once in this one small project, choose what we can for the athletic, keeping it all in perspective and fair to taxpayers, fair to the community, fair to the students, and then look to do the rest of the work in another project.
Was all of this work that was proposed approved in the project?
No,
Was any of it approved?
dugouts.
Just the dugouts? Because
We-
there was a
we
lot more
intended to-
proposed than just the dugouts last time.
Yeah.
You noticed that, yes, there were, there were a lot more, but, and I will say.
Was that with the hope that there would be extra money from the projects that were finished? Or maybe that's the wrong way to say it.
Potentially. I don't, there was a formal process by which we developed the project. And all of the wants were obviously things that were wants in the community, but they weren't things that were discussed as part of the process that developed the project. And obviously, we wouldn't have been able to do the classrooms if we just said, we're going to do all of the athletic things. So obviously, that wasn't something that we were including in the scope of that.
There were certain, like, on, I don't have it with me, but certain things like that were on there. There was the 2.3 million project approved, for example, the batting cages. On that, the scope of work is for one batting cage at 14,000. What they've proposed is something totally different and 3 times as much. So
They,
that's-
meaning the architect?
Well, no,
Oh,
after
meaning-
the meeting and
after
after,
the
meeting
board
with
meeting and
coaches and the
coaches.
athletic directors and,
they were proposing a different type of batting cage that was approved in that budget. That's 3 times as much. Actually, could be 6 times as much because they
For
wanted,
one batting cage?
just for one, it's 3 times, yeah, it'd be 3 times as much. Now they asked for possibly 2, so that's where the escalation of the money is, so we have to see what it looks like.
So we
All
may not be
before
able
next
to
week.
approve much of this at all.
So we were fortunate in that the bids came in under where we estimate them to be. That rarely happens.
For the
So-
classroom stuff? Like the core of this is
For
the classroom
yes,
stuff, right?
When
So-
you see there's four contractors here,
Yep,
all of them have their hands in all aspects.
Right,
in
okay.
every campus. Anything that we're doing, all 4 of them, really are working in all spaces. So, and by saying, all right, we're going to hold off on the Peterby Field, that doesn't work in this because they're all working in some capacity on all of our properties.
and I think it's
Holding
also,
off on approving this going to impact the classroom improvements that we're proposing to make?
Potentially, but that's why we say, in the respect of there are cost escalations, every day, depending on resources, availability of resources. And and our hope is that by making a decision by next week, it won't have much of an impact at all.
Is it realistic to think we'll be able to make the decision within the week?
I think we need to make a decision
right,
regardless
right.
of
So
where we're at.
again, the way that it was described to us is, by us not voting on this, it holds up everything, and part of it could be, in 2 weeks down the road, the cost of Part A could, increase, changing all of these numbers. But we feel confident that within 1 week from today, that those numbers won't change, so we will have to make that decision by then.
It's basically the best middle ground that we came up with in our meeting today. We don't want to wait until the next board meeting, which is a month away. We figure we can buy a week. We can really do good investigation and see how much we can do, whether it's sum total or parts of it, within the boundaries of the money and the scope of work that's.
Right, and I think a good point also is with these athletic things, and believe me, I want it all. I want to have the best of everything. But right now, it's not preventing our teams from being safe or playing their sport or anything along those lines. These are something that I feel like we're getting a lot of good knowledge, we're getting a lot of good ideas almost for free, or we're paying for the ideas and design now for maybe what we're gonna do the next time.
Okay.
So
I'm postponing.
we, Do we have to
Yep,
do
we're
anything
gonna
else?
What are
We
we
have to
doing?
divide 6.7 out, right?
Yeah.
So we need a motion to divide 6.7. I'll first it.
Second.
Mr. Ross?
To exclude 6.7?
Yes, so
Okay.
we can vote on the rest of
Yeah.
it.
Okay.
So we're all in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
Thank you.
Now we have to vote on the considerations, right? Everything else?
Everything else?
Right.
We already did all that, though. Does
Unless
that
we have
matter, Sue? Because we
Yeah.
already did,
We
yeah,
didn't
we
do
already
it.
did it.
We didn't vote.
We didn't
first and
vote.
second.
But, well, yeah, I'm not, I'm not done yet. So 6.10, I just wanted to call out and say thank you for the donation. And then also 6.12, I just wanted to thank everybody that came out and voted. And congrats again to Mr. Ross for being back on the board and our new board members that we will see soon.
Suck them back in.
Anybody else have anything else? All in favor? Those ones? Okay, I need personnel considerations, one or all.
I motion to approve personnel considerations, 7.1 to 7.18.
18.
18.
I'll second.
Okay, Mr. Benoit. Anybody have questions or comments?
Ms.
Nope.
Winkler is here tonight. We're not
Oh,
going to clap
yes.
until after we vote.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Yay.
Congratulations.
Welcome. Yes, welcome. Let's just get back here, sorry. Pages are in here. 8 informational items, and now special reports. I do not have anything. Does any other board member have a discussion? Okay, if not, then Dr. Bailey.
I think March is supposed to be Music in Our Schools Month. I would argue that May is Arts in Our Schools Month.
Yes.
Starting with the Arts Festival. The iHeartS Arts Festival, which was May 6th, was phenomenal, and it was outside the village offices, which are also our offices, with bands playing with some of our former students in them. And they were amazing, and we had performance art, I guess I call it, students able to, or children and adults actually, able to paint and decorate some of the planters for our community. Ted Smith was very active. I would call co-chair in the planning of that, right, with Miss Appleby. And second year. Yeah, great, just wonderful opportunity to bring our community together. And it was well attended. And how many hot dogs did you eat? Are you allowed to say that?
They were little.
Too many.
They were little.
They were super small, though.
Yeah.
Also, last night, we had inductions for our National Arts Honor Society. And it was a big group. And last night also, art and poetry. Middle school and the high school both did their art shows. And
And
for the
science
first
fair.
time, we did poetry here in the Career Cafe. And it was really phenomenal. There was art lined up on both sides with chairs down the middle. And students from the creative writing class wrote stories, short stories or poems about artwork that was created by other students. There was one who did write a story about her own, but they were funny, they were dark, they were deep, and really it was super heartwarming. And I agree with Kristen. Thank you to the people who came out and voted last night, all day yesterday,
The middle school also had a science fair in the library upstairs, along with the art show.
along with their arts fair. Yeah. And we have a number of events coming up over the next month. First, I'll start with the end in mind. Between last Friday and now, when the agenda was created, we know when the last day of school is for students. I was waiting for the drum roll. Which is Thursday, the 22nd. So students will have that Friday off. And of course, we know that we already have the contingent Friday off before Memorial Day weekend, which is May 26th. Also, we continually update our last days of school on our website, which talks about moving up days and 8th grade awards and other award ceremonies and graduation. So I do encourage people to keep an eye on our website.
God bless you.
Bless you. So that you're kept up to date. And I know that our graduates, again, the Spotlight's reached out to us. They're going to do a feature on our graduating class, which is awesome. Usually it's like a centerfold. And the Ravena News Herald is also, again, sponsoring our senior yard signs. So we will see them throughout the community. And we are very fortunate to have so many sponsors that are willing to celebrate our kids and the hard work that they've done. And that's about it.
All right. We don't have Mr. Angelot, so Mr. Bohm.
I just want to kind of go on to the budget. Just want to thank all the taxpayers and the Board of Education for the vote last night. There was a lot of time and effort put into this budget. And I think my, the rest of the administrators and the staff in this district think we created, a financially responsible budget that meets the needs of the students and staff. So I just want to say, the support was greatly appreciated. That's all I got.
I was just gonna bring up too, maybe because I've gotten actually a few more emails about the local firehouse that we're going to try to work on that next year. Right?
Yeah,
Correct, for the
absolutely. We
town.
got some additional numbers that hopefully after this round, we can give some more financial impact that will have on the taxpayers.
Thanks.
Okay.
Perfect. Any new business?
Just one quick question. The school bus stop arm cameras.
Okay.
I forget where we left off on that. I think we said in March they were going to be fully implemented. I don't know if we ever closed the loop on that.
Yep,
They are.
they've been
Across-
installed, yep,
Everybody-
Are
Oh,
they
so they're all
functioning?
done?
Yes.
Have we,
I believe so.
have we seen any results yet?
We have, but we can give you an exact number next time.
Okay.
As we know, I mean, the prevalence of passing buses with their lights on is an
Yeah.
everyday occurrence for our staff, so we'll let you know.
Okay.
Old business. I think we.
I have something for, I don't know if it was new, it was old, but at the meeting, I don't know, it was a month ago, when all the teachers were presenting, they were talking about Chromebooks. I think, I could be wrong, I think it was Ryan, it was Mr. Funk, that had said it would be nice if there was some chargers in the classrooms. Extra chargers, because sometimes kids are not charged. It's my understanding that teachers do not have 2 or 3 extra home chargers in each classroom. They specifically asked for that, so I think that would be a good idea.
We talked about it today at the building leadership team at the high school as well.
Okay.
Ironically, I know this, those of you who've ever been in a school building, the block, the thing that is the block for that is not the chargers, it's the fact that in every school, in every state, in every classroom, they put 2 outlets in. And I don't know what planet they're from. We're still building on like 1950 code. You need an outlet for your overhead projector, and that's all that you need. But we can overcome electricity as well. But duly noted that they've been talking about that.
And then they also brought up, I don't know if it's, I didn't look at the next policy committee meeting, but they specifically talked about cell phone and looking at the policy, asked us to relook at it. I know Bethlehem is using those yonder beds, it's been announced. So I don't know if it's on the next policy committee meeting, but I think we should look at that since we were asked directly to look at that. I don't know if it's there, I haven't checked.
There were some, we had some of our priority policies that were required, but we didn't have yet. And the other ones that we'd added so far
Yeah, right, I remember.
for this upcoming meeting were the attendance policy. What was that one? Oh, yeah, athletic code of conduct. So the policy committee is going to take a look through the athletic code of conduct so we can bring it to the board for first reading as well. And I'm glad you brought that up. It's our intention, it's done, it's about 13 pages, and it's been a good, engaging discussion. And Kristen, you were participating in the committee as well as our attorney. And we wanted to bring it to policy committee, although it is not, this is not really board policy. the code of conduct is a required component of every board. We annually approve it for the district. But because the athletic and extracurricular code of conduct is an extension of it, we thought it was wise for the board to look at it. Also, the board has heard some appeals based on our athletic code of conduct, so it's something that definitely has fallen within our purview, your purview. So, but I will note that we'll talk about it in policy prior to June 14th. We'd like to bring it to you for first reading at June 14th, because it is very important that it be approved in July. In order for us to apply it and to be able to give a satisfactory rollout for athletes, we need to give them ample time before they start in August. So just to give you a sense of our timeline around that.
Speaking of policies and stuff, I know we talked about this, I don't know if we bring out a policy, but that age for the dropout that you and I were discussing?
Yep, Kristen had some questions about what state mandate was versus what our own policies are.
Policies were for dropping out of high
Can be
school.
a year different, right?
Can be, but we have to have something in place, and we don't, I don't believe. So that might be something you might want to take a look at.
Okay.
Anything else for that? BOB committee reports, CNI meeting notes, they were attached. There are no policy swiped up. Any other, no hearings, petitions? Upcoming events, Contingent Day on May 26th, the 29th Memorial Day, no school, and the district office will be closed. June 14th is our next BOE meeting. No school on the 19th of June, and the last day of school is now the 22nd.
Now the 22nd. Unless the water main breaks in front of Peter B., and then we might have to change our story.
Better knock on wood.
I had a question about the code of conduct. I know what's coming out, but we're actually supposed to review that. How do we do that? We don't have a committee assigned to actually review the code of conduct, do we?
Not a seated committee, no.
Not a city committee. So what do we do? How do we review that in the meantime? Because we have to put it out there and then leave it out there for like 30 days, right, for public comment before it goes in. So we have a short window of time to look it over.
You're talking about the school one, not
The
the
school
athletic.
code of conduct, yes. So what would be the best path moving forward to look at that with input from other parties? I mean, I can look at it all day, but I don't know what the administrators and teachers and the input there is. So I guess with the time crunch, what's the best path forward for
I'll
that?
have to look at it. I don't know whether it is relevant to changes to the code of conduct, or whether it's just the status of the code of conduct that requires the review. I'll have to look at it. Sue, when's our first meeting, or what are the meetings in August right now that we've proposed?
They are. We're probably going to have to, at June 14th, make a motion to move our reorg meeting to July 12th. We have to do it within the first 15 days, but
Yeah.
the calendar for August is August 2nd and the 23rd.
So
Yeah.
12th, 2nd, and 23rd.
The 12th of July, the
Yeah.
2nd of August, and the 23rd of August.
Okay. I'll find out, Ed.
Okay. We will need to go back into executive for collective negotiations pursuant to Article 14th of the Civil Service Law. Do we need to do an emotion for that, Sue? Or just, okay, all right, just a motion to go into exec? Mr. Ross, Mr. Dale?